Well, hello and welcome to week 5 of our Tuesday training series. This is Hostess Coaching. Now, just as a reminder, we're going to be doing some other trainings mixing in beginning next week, but we're going to still continue to label these week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 4th, so that if you are using the training series as a new designer, you're going to have the opportunity then to know which week you're on, and then we'll just be throwing some other fun things kind of in the mix. So this Training Tuesday is all about hostess coaching. So we're going to talk about tips for successful hostess coaching. So if you are a new designer, then you can use these tips for yourself and your events. And if you're a seasoned designer or you're working with hostesses that are going to be hosting their own Create and Takes events, then you are going to want to be coaching them. So let's dive right in. First of all, when you work with a host, or even if you're going to be the host of your own Create and Take event, then you need to get to know what that hostess wants. What does she want to create from the event? What does she want to earn? Is there something that she's working on earning? And what's her why by hosting this Create and Take event? Is it just a favor for you as the designer? Is she doing a favor for someone else? Or is she motivated by the free product herself? There's various factors that can go in, and it's going to be important as we continue this training to understand what they want to get out of it. The next thing to realize is that we put together this kind of hostess reward recommended program. So this is our recommendation. Now remember, we as a Couture company don't actually give you a hostess reward program. We give you the recommended program that you can use yourself. Because your discount is so high, you can turn around and use that sometimes to incentivize. Again, this is a recommended plan, and we're recommending that for every amount that the hostess gets, that you give 10% back to her in terms of product that they can get for free. Now, remember, we have other programs that give you free designer dollars, right, every month. So if you're hitting some of the goals, it's probably going to be covered for you anyway. But we want to have this as a recommended guideline. Doesn't mean you can't adapt or change as need. We also recommend starting at hostess reward, starting at that 200 level. This way, you're not just working, or the hostess isn't working on having 1 or 2 people come to the event and the sales just aren't there. So you want to push and have a minimum level in order to reward that hostess. So there's the suggested plan on my slide. And we also have this in your business documents behind in the back office. So you can look at that whole chart. I recommend you download the whole thing and take some time reading it, as it goes into a lot more in-depth material. Now, all of this is part of a hostess system. And what that means is, what are you going to use for your hostess? And this is really important to think through, because when you use it for one hostess, you want to make sure you can use it for all of the hostesses that you're going to be using going forward. So you want to reuse this system over and over again. So one of the things that you might include is the hostess chart that we just went over. Other things that you may want to include are maybe some invites. Are you going to have some maybe postcards made from Vistaprint? Or are you going to create handmade chalk paste invitation cards? What kind of invites are they going to use when they're inviting their guests? Are you going to include any flyers, pamphlets, or anything collateral that we're providing for you that you're going to throw in there? Of course, we're always providing you some great information what the special of the month is. So if you know what that special is the month, you want to include a flyer so they understand what is the special for that month. Of course, you may want to create a letter that you write them, right? So this is really important. Now I'm going to give you some bonus info here of other things that you may want to include in this hostess kind of packet so that when you meet with your hostess, you can go over the packet or you can mail it to them in the mail, of course, have a phone conversation about. One of the things I recommend is kind of a memory jogger or a guest list. If you remember a couple weeks ago, we talked about using Eric Worre's system and how it can be used, that memory jogger can be used to create a list of 100 to 200 people that you're going to be using to start targeting for your own business. However, we don't want to go that much in depth for our hostess, right? So we want to give just the basic information. So we're going to take some of the snippets and those people that would be at the top of our mind and help them create a memory jogger for themselves. And another thing that I like doing is getting them to collect outside orders. So of course, we want people to show up at the Create Take event, right? That's how they're going to, of course, have a great party and earn more hostess rewards for themselves. However, in this busy time, we know that everybody can't always make it. So we're going to try to incentivize them to collect those outside orders. So I like saying, look, here are the products that we have. Here's some flyers and pamphlets. Here's a link to my website. Collect some outside orders before your party. And if you can collect $100 worth of outside orders, then I'll give you a free chalk paste. Right? So this incentivizes them to go above and beyond what the minimum is. Another great incentive is if you can get 10 paying customers at your event, then I'll give you a free small transfer. Again, you can adapt this incentive to make it work, but you want to give bonus incentives to your hostess so they're not just thinking the bare minimum and it's pushing them to hit some of the higher rewards. Sometimes people like to say, hey, if you hit $1,000 in sales, then I'm going to actually double your hostess rewards. Again, we leave this up to you to develop based on what your needs are that month or what kind of program you like to run for your customers. We have the recommended list there, but I think it's a really good idea to think of some bonus things that create behaviors so that they're going above and beyond in their inviting. So let's dive into the inviting a little bit more. It's going to be really important that you walk the hostess through these steps, but remind her you're willing to help her, right? And one of the things I like to do is go over what I call the general rules of numbers. Now, this isn't 100% scientific data, but I think it's good numbers to keep in mind, and it does kind of play true in today's society where people are super busy. If you are your hostess, invite 12 people, about 6 of those people, half of them, will say they're interested and probably will show up. But in all actuality, only half of that number will actually show up. So only 3 people will show up. So if you want better attendance, or you want your hostess to have better attendance, you need to invite more people. How do you help her invite more people? Use that same memory jogger that we just did, but adapt it specifically for your hostess. And I talk her through this. If your hostess wants 10 people there to maybe get that extra incentive that we just talked about, then she needs to have close to about 20 people that say they're actually interested in coming, which means she needs to invite 40 people altogether. That's how we ensure great attendance. Now, remember, the rules of the halves and the numbers I just gave you aren't fully scientific, but you'll be able to adapt and you'll see them working for yourself. But let's talk about how you can ensure people aren't just maybes, but are sure 100%. Number one is talking about setting up here Facebook events. So I see tons of direct sale people using Facebook events. And the sad part is they don't work. It's a great form of communication, but most of the time people are using Facebook when they're not busy. They've checked out of their personal life for a second, which means their calendar maybe isn't readily available, or they're just chillaxing on the couch. So they see your invite and they might click that they're interested, but it doesn't mean they're going to remember it or actually write it down. How many of you actually use Facebook as your calendar? I doubt there's even one of you that does this. So if we want the hostess or you yourself need to invite people, the number one way to get a yes or to get a commitment is to personally call and talk to the person. This means you have to pick up your phone and dial the number and actually have a conversation with the person. It also means you should try to maybe do a get together when you see someone in person. This is still the number one way to ensure people are showing up to create and take events. Of course, Facebook messaging and texting works great, but the number one way still is to use the phone and have a quick phone conversation. This way, the person is fully engaged with you, and you can ensure that they're going to write it down or remember about it. Now, when you start the invitation process, you want to start inviting about 2 weeks before the event. This is really important because some people invite way too far in advance. Now, if you're doing a create and take event where people need to RSVP because you have to purchase the supplies, then of course you're going to have to do this more than 2 weeks out. But the recommended inviting period for people that are just showing up is about 2 weeks out. People know what their calendar is going to be. And then you want to follow up. This is really, really important. Even if they said they were coming, you're still going to want to contact your guest about a day out and the day of. You can do this step actually in a text or a Facebook message because they've already committed to RSVPing. So let me review that one more time because I think this is really important. For your inviting, you're going to have a personal face-to-face or personal phone conversation. But your reminders, once they said they're coming, are going to be a day before and the day of. And you're going to do both of these. The reason is because people are frankly busy. Even if they write it down, doesn't mean they're going to actually show up. And people's priorities shift all the time, right? So here's a nice little example you could use for the day before. You can use it for yourself, or you can teach your hostess to use it as well. Everybody that said they were coming or maybe are coming are going to use this. I'm so excited that you're coming to our fun chalking event tomorrow night. I wanted to make sure you are still coming, so I have enough food prepared. So this takes the expectation off of whether they're coming or not, but tells them that you're planning on them showing up, or that your host is planning on them showing up. Because they know you're preparing food, they're going to be more likely to show up. You can always adapt the verbiage that fits best for you. I've set a spot directly for you. I'm working on setting up the space today. So those are great things to do. Use a script and have something that you use with every guest and send it out the day before. Now, the day of the event, whether it's your house or your hostess house, you're going to text or message them again the day of. Remember, people get busy and can easily get sidetracked throughout the day and things come up. So what you can send them the day of is a quick message that says, "Can't wait to see you tonight. Feel free to park in the driveway." So this way you're giving them that other reminder, you're telling them that you're excited, and you're being specific at where they're supposed to park when they arrive. This is really helpful information to keep the event on the forefront of their mind and guarantees that you're going to get more than 50% of the people that say they want to come actually show up. Now, we've been talking about the hostess a little bit as ourself and sometimes as the hostess, but let's go in to communicating directly with the hostess itself. Constant communication is the number one to guarantee success for your Create and Take event. Her success depends on you, and your success also depends on you. So it all comes back to you, right? Remember all the reasons we just stated why people don't RSVP to events. Well, those same things apply to the hostess. If they aren't 100% on it, then their success rate isn't going to be as high, which in turn, of course, has a negative effect on how that class is going to go. So let's talk about this schedule for you to use specifically with your hostess. You're going to give the hostess packet that we talked about earlier, and you're going to find out what are her wants and needs, and you're going to go over the details and talk about some of the extra incentives that you're going to give her. 2 weeks before, you're going to get excited and remind her about collecting those outside orders and have her begin to finalize the guest list within that next week. So right around here is when she'll probably start inviting people. So this is where she wants to nail down who are the people she's actually going to call. And you're going to need this information now, of course, so that you can make sure that you have enough supplies on hand. 1 week before, you're going to check in with the hostess again and see how those outside orders are coming. Remember, that's a great way for the hostess to already start earning free things before the actual event happens. Remind her what the goal she has set and give her that push she needs so that attendance starts to look great. And remember, always make it about them. 3 days before the event, or even 2 days before the event, you're going to want to have a phone conversation or a face-to-face conversation with your hostess and coach them on the communication that's going to happen the day before and the day of. The same communication that we just went over a few seconds ago is the same information you'll coach your hostess so that they have a guaranteed success, right? So you're going to coach them to send an invite. I'm preparing food. Hope you're ready for our fun event. Everything's ready. Feel free to park in front of the mailbox. Feel free to park in the driveway. She's going to send those texts directly to her guest. Now, here's an extra tip. Before you leave for the event, actually text the hostess to tell her you're on your way and ask her if she needs anything picked up from the store. It's just a great idea because a lot of hostesses sometimes think they have everything together and then realize, oh, I forgot maybe some napkins or I forgot some plastic cups. So reach out to her just so she knows you're on your way to set up for the event. And also, if she needs you to stop by the store and pick up anything, this is going to have her feel good about you and just make you, more personable and excited to help her out because she's helping you out. In general, you're going to want to make her feel special, and that's part of it. You're going to want to pamper her. Make sure to acknowledge her at the actual event and present some type of reward just for hosting the class or the Create and Take event. This is going to plant seeds for someone else to say, well, hey, maybe I want to do a create and take event as well. In all of the communication you do, which of course we've been saying should all be done over the phone or in person, you're going to make sure that your energy level is high and you're constantly praising her. Energy, of course, is contagious. So this is really important when you have a phone call with her. As you can even tell in my communication with you, I mostly try to smile when I give you this information because you can't see me right now. So I'm trying to keep the energy level up so that you feel excited. The same thing works when you're working with your hostess. If you call and start sounding monotone, hi, Sue, how's everything going? I'm really kind of excited for your class, right? That doesn't have the same feel as getting excited because you want her to be excited. And of course, we all know that having a create and take event with Couture is super exciting and everybody's going to have a good time, right? Now that we went all over that information, I'm going to give you a task. You're going to come up with a system that works for you. I've had you do this a couple weeks before. Write it out. Get your scripts together that you're going to use. Get your materials together. Make folders. Get cute packets. Whatever it is to get organized so that you have it ready, that once you have that booking, you can hand over that hostess packet and be ready. And you can use that same system every time and adapt as needed. Now, here at Chalk Central, our goal is to try to create some of these things for you in the coming months. But right now, we suggest that you start to put some of these things together. Our challenge for you is over the next week, dig more into that hundreds list we created a few weeks ago and book one create and take event for some time in the next month or two. Then use this system that you've just created to begin hostess coaching that new hostess. Our next week, week 6 topic will be going into depth about a create and take event. Now, if you're watching this live on Facebook or watching the replay on Facebook, next week we'll actually be training on our monthly special, and we won't be numbering it. But if you're following along and catching the replays on our page in the back office under training, then the next training will be launched, will still be called week number 6. So be looking for that. In the meantime, have a great time, enjoy your business, and begin sharing.